I'd just like to remind us we have a copy in the repo of the slides. At the very beginning, there are two very good resources. One is this one here on the WordPress plugin development. He's got two. One is an older version, one is the newer version. That's a really great place to learn about the MySQL version. And there's also this Udemy one, which when they have a sale is about $15 that goes into a custom post type version, using custom post types and shortcodes, etc. To really spend time and understand things more, I would recommend these two resources. This video series is designed really just to sort of wire in a lot of things, because one of my sort of passions is obviously sort of like using the REST API, but also how we can now use WordPress really as a multi-platform environment with React, Svelte, JS, etc. So how would we include those into our plugins? And if we're using a plugin, it'd be good to use the boilerplate plugin format, because that's nicely designed. So that's how later on, when we have a look at these Svelte and React, how we can just wire in these JavaScript files. So we've seen behind the scenes with the admin about how we load in the hooks. So if we come into the public, it's the same. It's got by default these files here, these two here. It has partials. This one here comes as default. Again, it's a standard template. But here we're adding our special kind of pages, our templates here. So remember when we started, we went into the plugin and we fired off basically the includes version. We fired off this one here that fired off all our hooks, etc. Our public hooks and our public hooks. So if we come back up top, we can see our public hooks. Basically, that's a sort of, this is the standard version here. What we're doing in this one for the public side is, what we want to do is when we're in our page, when we're in our site, for example, when we're going to this say React page, that's just basically using a JavaScript file. It can be any JavaScript file. We don't want to have this code in the theme page file, somewhere in a custom page file. We want it actually in our plugin. And as you can see, its contents is in the public, the partials. So what we really want to do is when we're in our partials is, for example, when we see that React, and all we're doing is just loading in some JavaScript. So basically it's a regular kind of layout of a page. And here, like with React, if you're familiar with any of the frameworks, you have an ID. I'm calling it root React. And for example, when I come back into my React file here, when I go into my source folder, index, you can see that it's looking for that element. Here is the file, for example, React. You could load in npm or node in this folder, build it, but this is the file where it all gets spat out. And what we basically see is, well, how can we wire in this folder, build folder here? Now this React folder can be put in the public, it can be put elsewhere, or it could be outside of the whole plugin and we're just loading in the build. But if, shall we say, we were using this for development purposes, we might keep it here. If we go into the events public DB, we can see now that when we come up, we get the standard enqueuing of the scripts by default here, but we're registering our own ones. And what we're doing is we're basically creating a path to the folder React build index.js. And rather than loading it, because it's going to be looking for things on the DOM, if we don't filter out only when it's on that particular page, what will happen is we'll get sort of errors in the dev tools. It won't actually affect things, but it won't look nice. Is what we're saying is if we're on the React page, load in React, load in that file. If we're on the Svelte page, load in these files here. But where the bypassing comes is in this filter here called our own custom page templates. And remember, we saw that way back in includes. Remember, we kind of go to this folder here for all these things. The default includes class plugin name. We can see we're adding a filter to redirect our pages. Because remember, in the activator, what we did at the very beginning is we created some of these blank pages. If we come all the way up to the top, we created a React page, a Vue page, a JS page, so that when we're in our folder, we have them here. And if we go into the dashboard, we can see in pages, when we created our plugin, it installed these blank pages. So when we click on, for example, React here, Vue, we're going to React. That's the page name. But if you notice, we're not going we're not using a theme template. The actual template is in the partials. So that's how we basically wire in either for React, JavaScript. And what I'm doing here is, normally with React, you have ID, it has root. I'm calling it root React, so that when I'm in my React folder, when I'm in the when I'm doing the bundling, it's looking for that element there, and we can then build our React app in exactly the same way, bundle it out on production into index.js here, and that will then look for it, because in our template partials file, basically when this page loads, it has that div ID element, and all we're doing is really spitting in any sort of JavaScript file into a div element or any element on a particular page. So when we come back up, we see that here, and we type in some numbers, small little React app. But actually when you're in here, you can then continue and just build on as big a React app as you want, and that app gets spat in here. So you can have a single page application for React. The same comes for Svelte. What I've done is, outside of it, I created my bundle, and there we can see the bundle.js. But if we go into the main folder here and go to Svelte, we can see Svelte tool layout. It's in the partials. So we come into partials, have a look at partials. We can see Svelte tool layout, call it any name you like, but basically it's looking for this ID element here. And if we go into bundle.js, and if we do Control save, and if we do Control F, and what we're going to look for is Svelte. Keep going down. Yeah, target is looking for that ID of Svelte on the page. So this is an example here of where all the source files are in it. Svelte is where we just basically put I'll show you, so like when we get our vendor files of JavaScript, we put it there. And that brings us on to say, if we have any vendor files, like we would put our JavaScript, whether it's a slide or something, the bundled version, we could put it in vendors here. I'm putting Svelte React. That's how we can sort of separate out so that we know where everything is. So that's how basically we can then, through the plugin, be theme independent, because the plugin creates a blank page which is theme independent on every theme page and every theme file. We can then basically load in that particular JavaScript framework. So straight away now WordPress is not just server side, but it's a combination of here. So for example here, this is server rendered content, this is client side content. So the so-called kind of JavaScript frameworks of server components that also have client-side JavaScript that gets hydrated when it's on the client side. This is how we do it in WordPress. So WordPress can now be a multi-framework platform. It's not just limited to PHP. We've got React, Svelte. We could have different buttons here and have a kind of mini app with lots of different components that's clicking, a single page app, multi-page app. And with the JavaScript, it's the same. If you notice here, the JS tool layout, and what I did for that is a different version, is rather than bundling things out, a bit like Vue, where we have style HTML script, I can put all my style in here. Then have the HTML, and then have the JavaScript. Obviously these could be refactored out, because we've seen how with our helpers we can put in certain functions here. So what we'll do is, if we come into here and if we do F12 to get developer tools, and for example if we go to dashboard and events DB, create event, you can see these helper functions are being displayed here. For example here in events IDB forms, if we come back up here, remember how we created our own little helper functions. Where was that? That was, let me just check. Let's go back into the dev tools and see where we are. Events, debug info, that's in event, events DB forms. My mistake, it's in the JavaScript. Remember we loaded in this JavaScript file. Here I've just got this helper function, debug info, that takes a message, a color, and gives it the styling in the dev tools. We can see that when we're in the create template, let's come back into partials, create template, we can see somewhere up top in the JavaScript, how we're calling upon that function that's in a separate file. So this is how we can sort of modularize our code in handle submit create. Refresh the page, go back into console, just scrolling up to see where I put these different things. You can see it can get quite confusing where things are. It takes a little bit of sort of practice. So we're in here, we're in the create if admin page determine IWS events forms. That is that's a custom form value using template create event tip, and so let's come back into here. That's where it's used in handle. So when we submit the form, that'll be put out. So if we come back in here, go into console, preserve the log, clear everything, do our random test, putting stuff in. Click, register event. There we can see in handle submit create. You can suddenly see that that helper function is in here. And obviously that function can be anything we want. So that's how we can see that when if we want to have like helper functions, we can just put them in here. Remember that we have to kind of load them in as a dependency. So coming back down here into includes class plugin name. Basically, when we come into our dependencies up top here, there we've included those two, the one for helpers and the one in the admin. And obviously orders matters. If these are used further down, then they need to be at the top. You could have some global constants. That is the wiring of custom JavaScript or custom PHP, separate files, how we can modularize everything. So I think that really in a sense covers the wiring. The way I learned this was basically what I did was do one of those courses that I mentioned at the beginning, then really kind of work through it but create my own version with different names, and that was the real way that I learned where actually things went, and then kept practicing as to where things go. It can be a bit confusing, but this here, if you follow all the code, I think I put in a lot of comments for us explaining different things. And as I say, start off here, that's for plugin name for all your constants. Activation and deactivation is then in the includes when you're activating or deactivating your plugin, when you're down here when you're uninstalling at the very end. And when we come back into the includes here, this is where we kind of basically either load all our dependencies or the files that we want to be running, like the functions file in a theme. It gets automatically kind of wired in. This is where we wire in all those functions so they're available. Just by having them in a file won't make any difference. It's got to be wired in, and that's how we do it here in the load dependencies. As we can see up top there in the constructor function, and coming down. And if we need to add in any hooks, whether it's admin or public, this is where we define them. And then the function by default, it would normally look into the class in the admin. It will look in the events DB admin. In the public, it will look into the basically class events public. That's where they're stored by default, all those files. And we've also seen how partials enables us to create template pages, and we can wire in other JavaScript files to it. And if we go back up top into the REST API, this is standard text of basically creating a REST API. Basically what we do is I use a form object. You can validate or not. And what I would suggest, if you want to learn more about the REST API, obviously search for it on YouTube. But if we go back into our file, online web tutor, if you look for him, he does a very good series on the REST API for post and get. You can learn that more in detail. What I wanted to do with this video is basically to kind of wire up an app, and how do we do all these things so it's ready made, and then people can basically chop and change it. So we'll move into the next video after this.